out there. Glad you are here with us for another edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style, where we gab about all things pro football, from the scoops of the regular season to the scores in the postseason and the picks in the offseason. Let's start gabbing.
The autumn winds move like the thunderous waves of Neptune's sacred palace. And here, amongst the blackened soil, lies the ragged hands, worn, torn, and callous. They await with cunning and vicious prowess, for the warriors have returned.
Come on, Dirk! Don't do it! Woo! No way! Woo! 85! Crying out loud! You're making me, driving me nuts!
But behold,
Welcome back, you guys. Glad you are joining us for the playoff edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Well, we are here to review, as you see on the top there, we are here to give a review of the wonderful weekend that we had, starting with the first game of this season, this postseason, being the Houston Texans and the Cleveland Browns. Now, as many of you guys may know watching the show, I am a huge Carolina Panther.
Dumbass.
I don't want to go into this. I will probably go into a more in-depth detail because there have been a lot of analysts from many walks of life that have said that the Panthers made a huge mistake in drafting Bryce Young. That is yet to be seen. But as you guys know, I am a huge fan of C.J. Stroud. But this is not just about C.J. Stroud, even though he had one heck of a ball game on Sunday. But I did tell you guys the Texans were going to win this game, and they won it exactly the way I said it. The Browns turned the ball over. The Texans happily accepted those giveaways, and they turned them into points. It was just a matter of time that this was going to happen. Excuse me, but let's go through the stats of this game, statistics, if you will. Let's look at the quarterbacks. You had Joe Flacco, 34-46, 307 yards, one touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Now, let's not make any mistake about this. The first 2 drives, the Browns look exceptionally good going up and down the field. And then let's look at C.J. Stroud, whom, my opinion, is the Rookie of the Year. 16 of 21, 274 yards, 3 scores, no interceptions. He also becomes the first rookie to throw 3 touchdowns in his first playoff game. And he's also become the highest drafted rookie at quarterback to win his first playoff game. Had the highest completion percentage as a rookie QB, most yards as a rookie QB. He's just broken so many marks, and if I recall correctly, he was second as for most passing yards as a rookie behind Andrew Luck, who had, I think, 4,600 and something. If he had missed those 2 games, guys, yeah, with that concussion, he probably breaks that mark. Shatters it, if you ask me. But let's look here. Kareem Hunt, 8 carries, 26 yards, and a score. Devin Singletary, 13 carries, 66 yards. Dameon Pierce's numbers have really gone down toting the football, but that's neither here nor there. I think he'll get that back. Nico Collins, 6 for 96 and a touchdown. C.J. Stroud has just been a godsend for him. Brevin Jordan. Now, this is a guy coming out of Miami I had high hopes for when Houston had him, wasting him away. But this is to show you how good C.J. Stroud is. He only caught 1 ball, but this is a guy who's got Dalton Schultz and then Brevin Jordan. This is why I say, and I'll give you my opinion on what the Texans can do if they lose this week to Baltimore. It'll be fun to break down what the Texans need to get back here next season if they don't go to the AFC title game or even the Super Bowl. It's possible. But Brevin Jordan took off, and people were just like, oh my goodness, where's that been? The guy hasn't gotten playing time. Brevin Jordan is a freak of nature, you guys. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, and I mean, I hate to just single him out when I'm trying to go through it, but the dude is 6'3", 245 pounds, and, you know, this is a guy that can really show athleticism. Reminded me of a shorter Vernon Davis. And I'm going to tell you something. If you keep... I don't think there's anything else to get. I will say this. I have some surprises for you guys if the Houston Texans go out of the playoffs this week or at the AFC title game. But as we see, Dalton Schultz had a 37-yard grab for a touchdown. He's just got such some pretty throws on the intermediate to deep throws. And, of course, Mechie had 3 for 44. And you look at these longs. Now, Brevin Jordan was mostly run after catch. Nico Collins, 38. Brevin Jordan had the 76-yarder. Mechie, 27. Dalton Schultz, 37. And ironically, Robert Woods only had 1 grab in this game, you guys. This is scary when you start thinking about and looking at what this guy has done. And to consider Tank Dell, the rookie that was injured later in the year, who arguably would have been on that list of Rookie of the Years, along with Paka Nakua. He's going to be back next season. But let's go look here at the Cleveland side. David Njoku had a great game. 7 catches, 93 yards. He's also a Pro Bowler. Harrison Bryant, another tight end, had 4 catches for 64 yards. Amari Cooper, 4 catches, 59 yards. David Bell had a great game, catch volume-wise. 8 targets, 8 for 54 yards. Jerome Ford, 4 for 15. Elijah Moore, 2 for 12. And, of course, Kareem Hunt, 5 for 9 yards and a score. Tackle-wise, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for the Browns had 9 total tackles. Greg Newsome, 4. Juan Thornhill, Myles Garrett. This is what I told you guys on the show. If Laramie Tunsil controls Myles Garrett, this is going to be a long day for the Browns. And it was. You didn't see much from that Cleveland pass rush, or you didn't even hear much out of Myles Garrett. And I told you guys, Myles Garrett, yes, is one of the big names as far as pass rushes are concerned. But he gets his sacks in bunches against a tackle that he just absolutely dominates. Laramie Tunsil took him to school. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but Laramie Tunsil is great. And I'm going to be honest with you, judging by what we saw in the Dolphins-Kansas City game,
You suck.
Miami probably should have held on to him.
Bruh.
Just saying. I mean, because Laramie Tunsil is that dude. And I'm going to be honest with you.
What a dumbass!
Great left tackles don't just grow on trees, especially ones like Laramie Tunsil. I'm just gonna put that out there, and they got it. They no matter what they gave away for him. I think it was 2 firsts. I think it was maybe 1, and he's been nothing but great for the Texans. And now he has a guy who he can really be the backbone for. Looking at Houston's defensive side, Desmond King had 12 total tackles, and Blake Cashman 10. Christian Harris had 8 tackles and a sack, as well as a pick 6. So you talk about stuff in the stat sheet. It doesn't get any better than Christian Harris's stat line. Then you had DeAndre Houston Carson, had 6 tackles as well. And then you had Steven Nelson, who had 5 tackles and a pick 6 to go with what he had. Denzel Perriman had 3 tackles. Will Anderson had 3 tackles and a sack. You know, looking at how this team brought things together and they were able to do what they needed to do, getting pressure on Joe Flacco, causing these interceptions, and then having the awareness to bring them back for touchdowns. I mean, this was a game that you could arguably say that it was close at halftime, even though it was 24-14 14 at the half, you could very well look at this game and it didn't get out of hand until the third quarter. I mean, well, let me rephrase that. It didn't feel like it was out of hand. I would say this. It did feel like it was going in that direction. I'm not even going to try to pretend. It did feel like it was going that way. But let's break it down and let's look at it. Early on in this game, it seemed like both teams were relying on its running games and its play-action pass game to get things going. As you know, both teams were hitting tough intermediate plays down the field. And it was definitely working for C.J. Stroud. And, you know, much like why Cleveland was able to get to this point, being Joe Flacco, D'Amico Ryans also pointed out that it's because of C.J. Stroud that they're in their position. Listen, we can go all day and talk. You know, when your quarterback performs at the level that these two guys have been performing at. Now, I will say this. Joe Flacco had another 300-yard game, but those costly interceptions, and I told you guys, Flacco has a propensity to turn it over. I told you guys that in the other show, the preview show. And it came back to bite them. And I know people are going to say, well, they still would have lost the game 31-14. True. But I'm a firm believer that when they came out in the second half and that first pick six happened, it was the beginning of the end, because here's the reality. They did not score again. They didn't score again. I mean, 21 points were scored in the second half, and it was scored by Houston. That offense and that team looked like they were on life support. Like they just did not want to play anymore. It looked like they realized that this was it. And we were just attempting to not allow this to get any uglier. But let's break it down. As I said, you saw that the Houston Texans, from the Houston Texans perspective, they ran a lot of misdirection. They very rarely, when they ran the football, did you know exactly where the ball was going. It was almost like they were scheming up the Browns in a way that we're going to say, okay, you're going to have to commit here. And then we're going to go here. They basically were using this aggressive Browns defense. And usually, generally, this is what happens with teams. They become overly aggressive and they take one. Listen, if you, in the NFL, these guys are so fast. One step or even a half a step out of place, you're beat. And we saw that on the Nico Collins. I think that's what it was. The Nico Collins touchdown that he had where Stroud just kind of tossed it. And I'm going to tell you, that was a beautiful, beautiful play. I really like when you see stuff like that, you guys. When you see how teams are just really, focusing on, putting it out there like they did. Just the whole misdirection game plan that they had was just so good. It was so thoroughly used. And then on the flip side, you saw how the Browns were using play action and fake handoffs to get, Flacco was hitting Harrison Bryant and David Njoku several times over the middle of the field with nobody around them. And that's what you have to do. But one thing I thought happened is that Cleveland got too caught up in just taking the snap from the under center, or taking from the snap and just throwing. I didn't take account of this, but I watched the game twice. I should have took a tally of this. I'm willing to bet you that over half of C.J. Stroud's throws came off of some form of play action or some type of misdirection. That's the difference between, and we look at it. Flacco threw 46 times. Stroud threw 21 times. And I'm going to be honest with you. We can take away the pick sixes, and it's still a 31-14 game, guys. Meaning,
Is that your best?
the amount of plays that were run, and this is ironic. You got 60-plus plays ran by the Cleveland Browns. 60-plus plays, people.
That was pathetic.
And this is what's extraordinary. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You got 70-44. And yards per play, 8.1 to 4.6. And the Texans had 280 yards off of 22 pass attempts. That is incredible, you guys. When you consider Flacco threw it 46 times and only threw 268, and then he averaging 5.4 yards a pass. But see, it goes back to what I really enjoyed about the true blue work ethic and the game planning of the Houston Texans. They truly had a game plan that was put on misdirecting and making the Cleveland Browns lose the football. Whereas the Cleveland Browns did the same thing almost just in the first half. And they got away from it when, in my opinion, they got away from it. They weren't misdirecting Houston on their runs. They were just doing it simply on the passes. And let's look here. Flacco was sacked 4 times. He was pressured several times. And the 2 interceptions were very costly because they were immediate points. Not immediate red zones, not immediate turnarounds, but points on the board. There was no chance the defense could stop it. It just happened. But I truly feel that Houston's got a good run going. They're very, 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 very opportunistic. But then again, they're also a team that also understands we don't have to beat you by telling you where we're going. And I know that sounds obvious, but it isn't. You know, they're not one of those teams going to line up on 4th and 1 and run right at you. They're going to make you think about some things. They're going to do the push. They're not going to do that. They're going to make you think. And that, I believe, that has a lot to do with DeMeco Ryans. Him being a defensive-minded coach. He's going to have, look, if we can fool the defense, we can score points. You hardly get a defensive-minded coach to think offense, but when you have a guy that's that good, he teaches an aggressive style defense, so guess what? We're going to teach a misdirection type offense. I love it. I think it's perfect. And of course, I love C.J. Stroud, who becomes the youngest quarterback to win his first playoff game. And I'm happy for him. I love the kid. I wish he was in Carolina black, blue, and silver, but he's not. But I will wish him and the Texans the best. And it was a great season for the Browns, considering all of the injuries that they suffered, from Nick Chubb to Deshaun Watson and all those other guys, if I recall, Del Pitt and whatnot. They'll have those guys coming back next season, and you know, they'll be just as strong, and hopefully they'll be able to perform at the level that they were at before. But guys, let me know what you think as C.J. Stroud makes history and they move on to face the Baltimore Ravens, and the Cleveland Browns will have faced elimination and will be going home, as your boy predicted. Go to the Facebook page. Let us know what you think about the Houston Texans and what their chances are against the Ravens. And let us know what changes the Cleveland Browns need to make to get better. Or maybe they just need to get their players healthy. But until the next time, same Gap channel, same Gap platform.
But behold, there is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will